Okay, we are going through 3 lessons today, Goal 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3, and I think without any trouble you can handle all 3 of these very easily, okay? 7.1 is just, as it says, knowledge of the coordinate plane and basic understanding of a linear equation, okay? There will be absolutely no OTL on this, no assignment, but next class you will have a goal assessment on it. So it's based on your knowledge of the notes and the information that I'm going to show you right now. But there will be no assignment on it. There's nothing, there's no work to do on these, okay? When you have a coordinate plane, you have a set of axes. You have an x-axis, which is the horizontal, y-axis, which is the vertical. Basically, they're like number lines. One of them horizontal, one of them vertical. Where they intersect each other, that point is called the origin. And at that point is the coordinate 0, 0. So that's like my 0 on my number line. And then to the right are my positives, and to the left are my negatives, and above are my positives, below are my negatives. All things we know, okay? When you draw a set of axes on a piece of paper or wherever you're drawing it, you are dividing that space into 4 parts. And those parts are called quadrants, okay? Now, make sure you're discerning the difference between the word coordinate and quadrant. That's 2 different things, okay? A quadrant means 4, so these are our 4 spaces. The upper right corner, that is my quadrant 1. Upper right. And for whatever reason, they write these in Roman numerals. I don't really care if you do or don't, but math books write them in Roman numerals, okay? So the upper right quadrant, upper right corner is quadrant 1. And in quadrant 1, my values for my x's and my y's are both positives. My x's are positives and my y's are positive. And then we work around counterclockwise. So quadrant 2, we go to the left. And in quadrant 2, my x's are now negative, my y's are still positive. Keep going around, quadrant 3. Here my x's and y's are both negatives. And then quadrant 4, my x's are positive, but my y's are negative. So my values in terms of my signs are different in each of the quadrants, okay? So again, don't confuse the word quadrant with the word coordinate, okay? Each point on your coordinate plane is a coordinate. It has an x value and a y value, okay? So take a second. I know you know how to do this. This is why we're going to zip through this very quickly. Take a second and list the ordered pairs for those for me. For A, B, C, D, E, and F, okay? So take, like 1 minute, seriously, that's it. And list the ordered pairs that you think those are. And I'll start mine in a second, then you can follow to make sure you're correct. So listing those ordered pairs. A, B, C, D, E, and F. The ones that are D and E are sometimes mixed up. Not always, not very often, but sometimes. I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. Okay, A. For A, you should have 1, 4. For B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, 3, if I counted right. C, negative 4, negative 6. D is 0, negative 2, where E is 4, 0. So those 2, D and E, are the ones that sometimes people mix up. But if you're looking at point D, you're not moving on the x-axis at all. So that's why that remains 0. And then when you get to E, you're not moving on the y-axis, and that's why the y is 0. Okay? And then F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, negative 5. Okay, any problems with that? With those? Rules should be like nothing, okay? Now, most of the time we are not looking at coordinates and pulling off the points. Most of the time we are plotting points. So take, 1 minute here and plot those 5 points for me. And then I'll plot mine. Label them with your A, B, C, D, and E. And we'll compare and make sure we're good. This is what you're going to be doing with points in this goal 7. Sometimes this isn't easy to do on your iPad, I know. All right, compare your graph to mine. And if yours don't look like mine, if yours does not look like mine, then you have one of your points incorrect. So check what you may have done incorrectly if you did anything incorrectly. Okay, up to what I've just said now, I think that you have seen probably all that stuff. Maybe you didn't talk about quadrants before, I don't know. But the other stuff certainly you've seen before. This next piece of information, not so sure about, maybe yes, maybe no for some of you. Okay? And it's basically talking about what a linear equation looks like. Okay? We are working in Goal 7 strictly with linear equations, equations of lines. Okay? And if we graph several points and they connect, we get a line. Every graph has an equation associated with it. Every single graph has an equation with x's and or y's associated with it. We're going to be working strictly with linear equations, as I said. This is an equation with x and or y that has no products or quotients of variables and no powers. You're not going to have to do it in this class, but I know when you get to your next algebra level class, you're going to have to be able to look at an equation, just looking at the equation, and tell your teacher what kind of graph it is. Is that a line, a circle, an ellipse, a hyperbola? You're going to be able to have to look at it, and based on just what x and y look like, know what it is. Okay, so this is your first one, knowing what a linear equation looks like. Your standard form, I'm not really worried about standard form. I don't typically have you put things in standard form, but you should know that that's what the standard form looks like of a linear equation, where x and y would be on one side with your constant on the right. Really not a big deal for you to know that, but for me, okay? So, the question I would pose then is, are these equations linear? Are they equations of lines? So, based on the things that I told you, it is not. We're going to go through these. So the first one is a yes. X and or y with no products, quotients of variables, and no powers. So this is a yes. It's linear. That would be a line if we were to graph it. The next one is a no. And it's a no because you have a product of variables. Product of variables means variables multiplied together. This would be a hyperbola. This is not going to be a line. My next one is a no. And it's a no because it has a power. This would be a parabola. Okay, so powers keep it from being a line. The next one is a yes. The next one is a yes. And the last one is a no. And it's a no because you have a quotient of variables. A quotient of variables means that you're dividing by a variable. There's a variable in a denominator. And this one has kind of like an S graph. So there are three things that keep an equation from being linear. No products of variables, no quotients of variables, and no powers. So I've given you the three things that keep it. I've shown you examples of those three. In all my other examples, I do have both x and y, but I should have made an example with only one variable because it can have just x or just y. It doesn't have to have both. Okay? So this would be something that maybe is new to you that you will see on your assessment, just answering yes/no questions based on the definition of a linear equation. Okay? So on your goal assessment, next class, over this, it will just be information from these notes because as you can see, there's no really assignment to do for that. Okay? Okay, you can stop that.